ShinRobjira.
Pre-evolved Godzilla, or re-evolved Godzilla from Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, as put out through Hiya Toys in their Exquisite Basic series. Full disclosure, this figure was provided to me by Hiya Toys themselves. Thank you so much, Hiya. Up first, the box. The box is cotton candy-like. I love it. I love how Godzilla stands out besides these colors. It's great. I love it. It doesn't actually say re or pre-evolved Godzilla on the box, so there's that. Godzilla will be standing at just 7 inches tall, and he's quite lovely. I mean, look at those numbers. Look at that face. Shokugan, movie, king, HG, finger puppet. We've got ourselves yet another Godzilla from Hiya Toys, and since I have talked about this initial build as much as I have, we're going to speed through articulation right after this. I hope that's okay, but the real question to be asking and answering within this video is it worth picking this up again? I mean, besides all the heat ray and burning versions, does this guy cap off the Monsterverse Godzilla standard release? Let's find out. Articulation-wise, as I already stated, we're going to be getting a lot of the same here. Now, Hiya Toys is known for tweaking their releases in between major releases, and with each release of a Monsterverse Godzilla, it's felt not entirely mostly the same, but the same with a little bit of improvements along the way. And to reply to what Figure Mania Show said, Figure Mania Show was saying that right out of the box, this thing was able to move a lot easier than they've had experience with in the past. Didn't know whether to attribute it to something that Hiya themselves did or just, heat. And it was rather warm the day that I received this thing. So I don't know whether to attribute it to that or just Hiya Toys trying something different. Right out of the box, this guy was buttery smooth. Biscoff butter, my guys, my gals, my pals. And ever since then, he hasn't really gotten stiff again. He hasn't, reverted to tight joints or anything like that. Not that I've had that issue with Hiya Toys in the past. But as it goes, if you have a singular Monsterverse Godzilla figure from KOTM onwards, you'll have this figure. The majority, of course, is going to be in the paint, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but let's focus on posability now. You can get great poses out of this thing. And, I don't want to parrot or copy my own friggin' words from the past, but here we are, another Godzilla. Great sense of articulation, great sense of posability. You've heard it, you've seen it, you've experienced it all before. I really don't have much else to say. I have fun posing my Hiya Godzilla figures, whether they're Godzilla or Kong, the Skullcrawler, Ghidorah, whichever. And I'm glad that they're still fun to mess with. I'm glad there haven't been any changes that have come back with a negative light to them. But with all due respect and many penny dreadfuls, let's just get into paint and detail, alright? Alrighty, up first, let's take a look at the eyes, since that was my major worry with this figure. This time around, Hiya has actually included some more visible whites of Godzilla's eyes. We can clearly see the whites, the iris, the pupil. It looks pretty good on both sides, if a bit runny on this side, and I mean that as just a bit. I'm acknowledging that I see it. And I think they did a pretty bang-up job because he looks pretty awesome from the front. If a bit worrisome because it almost looks like he's tripping a little bit.
We shouldn't have did this, man.
But at least he is looking straight forward and not one this way, the other kind of coaxing to the next cerebellum. I'm really digging what Hiya did with the teeth and the inner mouth paint this go around. It's much more darkened up and even present, which is nice, and it actually looks like Hiya applied it and didn't just smear it on. Although things do get a tiny bit messier on this side. I mean, look at the size of these things. It doesn't look like he has crest whitening strips on his teeth, and they actually look pretty good, so it's a pass from me. Now, excuse me while I fuck the hell out of this figure. Don't come at me like that, Kaiju Canuck. I know you live in Canada. The pink and fleshier tones on the inside of Godzilla's mouth are much more darkened up this time. It's not as, I wouldn't want to call past mouth paints distracting, but it feels properly balanced this time, which is a theme we're going to be seeing a lot of with this Godzilla. Because while he's not as sandy looking as I was initially thinking he was going to be, this feels like the proper balance from the original 2021 Kong to the last standard Godzilla that was released, which I believe was the V2 of the GVK Godzilla. This is that all combined into one. We'll get that comparison going on later. The tan paint job has been severely toned down, not to the point where you can't see it, but to the point where it's not glaringly obvious. That rusty orange is going to be in between all of the major crevices and wrinkles of Godzilla's skin to a point where it almost doesn't feel present. But it surely is. And we've got this new highlight on Godzilla's skin, which doesn't give off a dustier look, but more of a worn look for Godzilla. And that's where I think this figure positively shines the brightest. Balance. We get more of that darker charcoal color with a little bit of the rusty oranges in between. I know the term perfect is a bit of a social construct these days, but this does feel like the best of both worlds. Everything from original GVK Goji to the newer GVK Goji. Honestly, my guy looks like a frosted mini-wheat. Well, a frosted nuclear mini-wheat, because all of the detail is so loud, bombastic, and detailed, if that makes any sense. You get an eyeful of everything Hiya was promising with those promos, and it's just all here, dude. And just look at the differentiation of color between the bottom of Godzilla's tail and the very top of it. It's quite obvious, and I really dig what Hiya did this time. And this initial coloration is going to follow through with the inside of Godzilla's thighs, his goochal and crotchal areas, and it all just matches up so lovingly. You know, it's like at first glance you really can't see too much, but the closer you get, it is absolutely there and so crazily obvious. I love it. Personally, I don't think these Hiya dorsal fins have looked better than they do here. Obviously not lit up in blues and oranges and other colors. The painting is minimal in a sense, and the details are right out in front. The star of the show. And every time I look at this figure nice and up close, I feel like I notice something new each and every time. I guess if I had to nitpick, it does have the whole we painted this assembled thing going on with the tail. You can clearly see where the dustier elements end and begin. And again, that's just a nitpick because everything else on the tail looks fantastic. I mean, just look at the details on those smaller dorsal fins over here. What the heck? Yeah, as far as paint and detail goes, I'm gonna have to give pre-evolved Godzilla a solid star for each. We've come full circle with Hiya's standard Monsterverse Godzilla. And if this guy is going to be what evolved Godzilla looks like, obviously with the new design and pinks and consider me all the more excited for that figure. Absolutely. Please straight eyes, please straight eyes. Anyway, it's time to compare the standard Godzilla figures that I have from Hiya. No heat ray, no burning, no heat ray Mark II translucent. I just want to showcase the steady upwards tick Hiya has had with the overall paint jobs of these. I unfortunately don't own the V2 GVK Godzilla because I don't. Up first is V1 GVK Godzilla, and as you can see, some of what's present on pre-evolved Godzilla will be present on GVK Godzilla. He's got that dustier, frosty look to him, but as you can see, that more rustier looking orange is a bit more present this go around. While on new Goji, it's properly blended in between all of those bumps and grooves and crevices. I mean, just look at this. It's so nicely traced and blended here. While over here it is nicely traced, it just can be a little heavy-handed in some areas as well. I don't think it's to the point where I'm surprised, wow, this is from the same company. It's just, Hiya's come a long way from their very first release, and I gotta give them praises. I mean, even when you look at the thighs over here, some areas are more obvious than most, and then over here it's just like, fuck. I really have to get close to see some of that. Oh, and by the way, I'm in no way saying V1 GVK Goji is bad. I love that guy. First Hiya Toys figure, I have an emotional and deep connection to him. And I feel the same way about KOTM Goji. but I am going to have to apologize to him. Because holy rock, the Casbah as starring Bill Murray. Look at this. KOTM Goji, still a fantastic release, but dude, Jesus, tap dancing trollymog. And then look at this guy. Look at that. My word! They cleaned up the dirtier look for Godzilla in between these two major releases, and it's absolutely paying off. Although his lower jaw does look a little discolored. But man, look at that! Hiya with the improvements, and this is a great time to talk about the tongues and the membranes and such. They darkened it up, they blended it in. It doesn't feel so distracting this go around. Not that it ever was, but I don't know, it just feels better. Yeah, I'm sorry, that kind of came to a very mid-climax. But it's really the best way I can sum up my feelings here. And now I feel like I can understand people's complaints with the KOTM Godzilla, because just look at this. Pre-evolved Godzilla is supposed to be the dirtier looking one, and yet the KOTM Godzilla looks filthy. What you rolling around in, bruh? It looks like a lot of sand. And that overall look does stay consistent throughout the figure and the tail and everything. It's just this looks so much better. I love seeing a glow up like this, and Hiya, I really don't know how you could possibly top this mold at this point. Unless, you know, it's the energized, heat ray translucent, you know, those variants, yeah, okay. Trying to figure out the best one of those is just a pain, a headache brewing in my cerebellum. But here with the not powered up Godzillas, it's pretty apparent. Pre-evolutionary plot device Godzilla comes out on top. And just look at how different they look from far away, man. I've got the goofiest grin on my face right now. It's so cool seeing a company evolve like this. No pun intended, maybe. 2019, 2024, 2021, my word. Hiya, I love you. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because they gave me the figure for free. I genuinely really do enjoy their products, and it feels like they're only getting better by release. Anyway, I have been ShinRobjira. I do so hope you all enjoyed this review. Check out my social media, Patreon, $1 a month, Ishkabibble, the whole 95. And when next we meet, which might be Sunday or Monday, we are going to be talking about the Bahajian Blast Queen herself, Mothra, the Emerald Titan version, also from Hiya. And that's going to be an interesting one. See you there. Peace. You coming at me like that, Canuck? I see what you do. Don't come at me like that, Kaiju Canuck. Fuck.